Hello, CVU students. I'm Miss S, Mrs. Petrella's student teacher. I've met most of you, but for those of you that I haven't met, hello. I'm Miss Setneska, but you guys can refer to me as Miss S. Today I'm going to be giving you guys a little bit of art history background for the projects that you'll be working on with related arts. I know you guys are doing some superhero projects, which is so fun, and I'm going to give you a little bit of background on the art world of superheroes. Um, we're going to talk about pop art, which was a whole movement with lots of different types of art, and we'll give a little bit of background for 4 of those famous artists. Pop art is actually short for popular art, which is talking about pop culture. Now, pop culture really means things that we would see in our everyday lives, or famous people that we might know, famous songs that we might have heard, things that are really common for us during a specific time. So, back when pop art was really popular, it would use things such as famous actresses in their artwork or famous soup cans. There are actually some really cool examples of Marilyn Monroe, who was a really famous singer at the time. So it's really cool because pop art uses things that you might recognize. So if pop art was happening now, people might use pictures of Taylor Swift or Harry Styles, and it would use things that people would recognize in the artwork. Here is the painting of Marilyn Monroe that I mentioned earlier. I want you guys to also look at how this artist, Andy Warhol, used really bright colors in this picture. He wanted to make sure that the audience would be impressed when they looked at it. So using bright colors is a really big part of pop art because it makes those paintings really pop in the audience's eyes. Some pop art actually uses items that could be reused or recycled, just like you guys are doing with your superhero project. So sometimes pop artists will take items that they might be throwing away and make something really cool out of it. So, like I said, a big part of art is taking everyday items, things that you would see just walking around your house, and putting that into artwork. That's what makes it really special. Someone who did this was Andy Warhol. He would actually take soup cans or just boxes of things and he would recreate them. Here's the example of the famous soup cans I was talking about. A lot of American households had Campbell's soup in their pantries. So that's why Andy Warhol decided to make art out of something so ordinary that people would see every day. Keith Haring is another artist that you guys might recognize. He used really bright colors and he would make people or dogs, and those are things that he would see every day, but he would use bright colors to make them. So it made it a little bit more interesting. He would also use really simple shapes, so his artwork was pretty cool. You can see here that Keith Haring made people just by drawing the outlines using shapes and lines. He made these really easily and used bright colors because he thought that that would make it look more interesting. And here's an example of Keith Haring trying to spread love and acceptance throughout everyone that looks at his paintings. Jasper Johns is an artist that used icons, symbols, and images that we all might recognize in his artwork. Like I said before, that's a huge part of pop art, incorporating things that people in the world might recognize. And for us, that could be an American flag. Here are the flags that I mentioned earlier that you might have seen in Mrs. Petrella's room. He used flags as the icon of American people because it's something that all American people would be able to recognize and see in their daily lives. Now, Roy Lichtenstein, he's really important for my demonstration today because he was the first artist to use his inspiration from comic books and superheroes to make art. So he would actually have words like pop, and he would use super bright colors, and he was really influenced by comic books. Here's some examples of his work. This is the kind of picture you would see in an average comic book. You can see that Lichtenstein used dots and bright colors and really thick black lines to show pictures of what might be in a comic book.
And this is an example of how people might be shown in a comic book. As you can see, this woman has dots on her face, and Lichtenstein used bright yellow for the hair and bright red for the lips and for the background because he really wanted this image to pop. An image like this, or the ones I showed you before, in a comic book would actually only be one part of a really long story, and there would be a lot of these pictures. But in Lichtenstein's work, he would actually just take one image and make it really, really big, and that would be his whole painting. So something like this might be as big as you or me. And again, he used really bright colors, and he even wrote the word wham because he really wanted people to be excited looking at his artwork. Here's an example of a real page of a comic book. What's cool about this is it has all of these little images, and what Lichtenstein would do is he would choose one and make a big painting out of just one of them. So you can see in the artwork that I showed you before, those were all by Lichtenstein, and he was very influenced by actual comic books. I hope you enjoyed learning about pop art, and if you'd like to learn more, I've attached another YouTube link from the Tate Museum, and it has really cool information about other types of pop art. Pop!